Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with another action figure review. It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means, time for AEW Dynamite on TNT. More importantly, it's night 2 of Fyter Fest, and if night 1 was any indication, we're in for one hell of a treat. But first, if you're new here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more pro wrestling and action figure content. Now, we're headed into my custom arena, so for a recap and review, let's take it over to the action figures. MJF joins commentary and is absolutely brilliant as Dynamite opens with a battle of proud Canadians. Chris Jericho takes on Shawn Spears in his first labor, and remember, only Spears can legally use chairs. The crowd goes nuts every time Jericho gets in some offense. They pop the hardest when he reverses a potential chair shot into the walls. But Tully Blanchard distracts Ref Aubrey while Spears is tapping out. Sammy Guevara runs down to deal with Tully, but that gives Spears enough time to counter with a chair shot to the head. He follows that up with a C4, but Jericho becomes the first person in AEW to kick out of it. Spears sets up a chair against the turnbuckle, but Jericho sends him into it and follows that up with the Judas effect for the victory. MJF comes down and sarcastically congratulates Jericho on the win, but scolds Sammy for helping. He says if anyone else helps Jericho, the deal's off. Then he drops a bomb. Chris's next labor is a no DQ match against deathmatch legend Nick Gage. In a pre-taped video package, Miro tells the history of the TNT Championship, but says it stops with him. Then he unveils his new gimmick as the Redeemer, God's favorite champion. Frankie Kazarian begins working his way through the Elite by taking on Doc Gallows, but after a commercial break, Gallows wins with a powerbomb. That brings out Kenny Omega and Don Callis, who say this is what happens when you mess with the Elite. Omega goes to hit Kaz with his title belt when Hangman Adam Page arrives, beer in hand. Don reminds him that it's 4-on-1 and asks if he's stupid or drunk. Hangman says both, and attacks the Good Brothers while Kenny bails out of the ring. The Dark Order run out to even the odds and stand tall. Team Taz announces a celebration for the new FTW champion, Absolute Ricky Starks, next week. Brian Cage ominously says that works out because he loves celebrations. The Best Friends protege, Wheeler Yuta, from here in Philly, is accompanied by freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy as he takes on Darby Allin, accompanied by Sting. In the middle of their match, everyone's attention turns to ringside as Cassidy and Sting engage in an epic battle of orange kicks. Now that's how you protect an old guy. In the end, Darby wins with a stunner and a coffin drop. But afterwards, the Blade appears and knocks him out with a pair of brass knuckles ahead of their match later. The first championship match of the night sees Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, defend her women's championship against former champion Nyla Rose. It's a classic battle of technical skills versus power. Towards the end, Britt tries to pull an Eddie Guerrero by having Rebel distract the ref while she fakes being hit with the belt. But they forgot that Vicky was married to Eddie and knows all of his tricks, so she also distracts the ref while Nyla tosses the belt back to Baker, almost getting her DQ'd. That sets up a beast bomb for a crowd-popping near-fall. But it's not enough as the dentist sinks in a lockjaw for the submission victory. She'll head home to Britsburg as the champion. Earlier in the day, Tony Schiavone held a press conference with FTR and Proud and Powerful regarding their match at Fight for the Fallen. It quickly devolves into a debate about who had the rougher upbringing before they have to be pulled apart by security. Now, Tony is in the ring to introduce Andrade El Idolo, but winds up introducing the legendary Chavo Guerrero Jr. as Andrade's new manager. Chavo says it's great to be back and compliments the AEW roster, but says Andrade is the most talented of them all. This brings out Death Triangle, who have something to say about that claim. Pac also didn't appreciate Andrade speaking their name last week. In Spanish, Andrade addresses the Lucha Brothers. Chavo steps in to interpret for Pac and the audience. He admits Death Triangle is talented, but they haven't won any titles yet in AEW. However, with Andrade's help, that could change. Then, Andrade asks, "Why do you work for Pac?" The bastard says they don't work for him, they're a brotherhood. Phoenix adds that he and his brother are the real faces of Latinos, while Penta asks why would they join a man who isn't even on their level. With that, they charge the ring, but get stopped by referees. Christian Cage, along with Jurassic Express, address what the HFO did to Marco's stunt on Dark by challenging Private Party and Angelico to a 6-man tag team match next week. QT Marshall and the Factory are backstage with Alex Marvez and claim they're going to apologize to Tony Schiavone next week for dumping that protein shake on his head. Time for the Blade vs. Orange Cassidy, who sneaks up from behind after not making his entrance and beats down his opponent. Later, the Blade fakes a leg injury in order to stall, but Cassidy hits a Stundog Millionaire and a Tornado DDT. When the Bunny interferes, Chris Statlander makes the save, but each man winds up inadvertently taking out their respective female counterpart. Finally, when the Bunny distracts the ref while throwing brass knuckles to the Blade, Orange Cassidy avoids it and nails an orange punch for the win. While the Pixies play, he hits another orange punch, this time with the brass knuckles. Jericho responds to MJF, saying that he's bringing back his Painmaker gimmick from New Japan, which beat Tanahashi and Naito, in order to survive the ultra-violent Nick Gage. Speaking of New Japan, in the main event, Jon Moxley defends his IWGP United States Championship against Lance Archer in a rematch of their brutal encounter overseas. However, since they're in Archer's home state and want to turn up the violence, we get ourselves a Texas death match, meaning only knockouts count. They brawl into the crowd, where the Murder Hawk literally uses a fan as a weapon, throwing him into Moxley. Then, he exposes the concrete at ringside, only to eat a paradigm shift on it. Jake the Snake has to help him up to avoid the KO. Mox uses a fork to bust Lance open, and Pillmanizes his leg during a commercial break. There's a trash can, face biting, and a vicious powerbomb on the top of 2 chairs. Then, Moxley gets out the barbed wire tables. But unlike the spot in Japan, this time Mox goes through them and can't beat the count. Your new IWGP United States Champion is the Murder Hawk monster Lance Archer. Throughout the night, cameras cut to Hikuleo, brother of the Gorillas of Destiny and member of the Bullet Club, sitting in the crowd. As Archer's music plays, the near 7-footer climbs in the ring for a stare down to close out the show with chants of "Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!" Every single episode of Dynamite feels like appointment viewing that you must see live in order to save yourself from Marvel-level spoilers. And the product has only gotten better with the return of live crowds. This hasn't been the case in pro wrestling since the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars of the late 90s. Now I'm hearing rumors that Bryan Danielson, the former Daniel Bryan, is all elite. Outside of landing CM Punk, that's the biggest signing AEW could possibly get. Contrary to what people like Jim Cornette say, in my opinion, this promotion gets everything right by honoring the past, innovating in the present, and rewarding fan loyalty with complex, long-term storytelling. On a somewhat related note, this is a lesson for WWE on how to reach Latino fans. AEW has the Lucha Brothers, Andrade El Idolo, Proud and Powerful, Thunder Rosa, legends like Conan and Chavo Guerrero Jr., and promos in Spanish. Need I say more? Alright, that'll do it for Night 2 of Fyter Fest. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'll be back next week with my action figure review of Fight for the Fallen, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter at WrestlingOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen my review of Money in the Bank, you can check that out right here. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.